Hey guys, welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and today we're going to go over a new model of hotshot, and these are primarily for export. These two ovens here on my bench, they look identical in every way until you get up close, and there's actually some major differences. Now, I've built the hotshot 360 in a 240 volt model primarily for export. I've got them in the UK, I've got them in Europe, I've got them in Australia, I've got them in New Zealand. You know, all you guys run on a 240 volt system there. And we went through, and one of my first guinea pigs was over in Australia, and they only use 50 hertz there. But when you talk about heating coils and the Ohm's law does not contain frequency. So frequency really has no bearing on your heating value. So you know, when you stop and think about it, it really doesn't matter. Now the controllers I use have a little switching power supply inside of them. They don't care what voltage they get. They can run anywhere down from 90 volts all the way up to 250 volts, and anywhere in between. They'll just switch their own little power supply, and they're off to the races. But we have to change heating coils, cooling fans, alarms. You know, we have to do different fusing. There's a lot of things we have to change. So this one is mine over here. This is a 110 volt model, and this is the new 240 volt model. And I'm going to bring you in closer, and we'll go over some of the differences. And you know, we'll open it up a little bit and take a peek inside and see what it's all about. But I'm pretty excited that we can finally get these ovens out to people out of the United States, and they can use them on their regular current they have in their shops. Exporting is expensive, and there's no doubt about that. I try to find the best rates, but if you're interested in one of these, I really express the need for an exporting company, and I can't do it for you. You have to set up an account at one of the ports either on the East Coast or the West Coast of the United States, and the savings are substantial. I ship to Australia out of a little forwarding company out of Oregon, and it's literally half the price of you know, of the big two, of the FedEx and the UPS. So get some pretty good rates there. Anyways, let's get in a little closer to the 240 volt ovens. I didn't order that many of them. I only ordered 5, and one of them went straight to Norway, and I've got this one here is heading to Australia, and that leaves me with 3. So I ordered a total of 5. So I've got some for the foreign customers. I've got another inquiry in the UK that's coming up. So anyways, let's get in a little closer and see what the 240 volt hotshot's all about. Okay, well now we're looking at the 240 volt oven, and the first thing you're going to notice is no cord end, and that's going to be pretty standard when these things go out. You know, the receptacles in the UK are different from Europe, and they're different in Australia, and they're different in New Zealand. So you are responsible to put your own cord end on it. It comes with a nice heavy 12 gauge cord, which is way beyond what you need. But you are going to need to get a cord end for your oven. You know, I messed with that when I was building them, and it was problematic. And you know, you'd buy the pre-made molded cords, and as soon as they show up, they go click. They cut them off, and they have to put their own cord end on. So it's just a colossal waste of money. So we do have a nice SO cord on it, and you are responsible for your own cord end, as opposed to, there's the one for the hotshot 120 volt. So that's what you get there. So that's the first thing you're going to notice, is that you don't have a cord end. Next thing you're going to notice when you open them up is that the coil is much smaller and much longer. It's a very long coil. The ohms change between the higher voltage and the lower voltage. So I can maybe try to zoom you in a little on that. There you go. There's the coil wind in the 240 volt oven. And then I'll go ahead and open up, try to pan the camera here in my creaky old tripod, and there's the coil in the 120 volt. So it's a much coarser wound coil, and it's actually a heavier gauge element on the 120 volt than it is in the 240. I'll take you back to that 240. There it is there. So that's the second thing you're going to notice. All the other changes, you have to open them up. So let's dig into it a little bit. I'm going to pop the fan off. We'll pull the control panel open and look inside and see what the differences are. Okay, we're at the back of the 240 volt oven, and I love these removable back plates. These are pretty cool. If you have to work on your fan, just pop that off, and the fan's got its own enclosure. This is a 240 volt cooling fan, so that's one of the changes. And it makes the back of the oven pretty accessible. You can get to your thermocouple, which is in the back now, which was a change, and you can get to your fan control switch, and this is what controls your cooling fan. When the inner shell heats up, switch closes, fan comes on, and that's whether you've got the control switch enabled or not. We're just going to check the resistance across the coil. Should be mid 29s. Yeah, you're 29.3. So that's going to be about 8.5 amps or so at 240 volt. And you know, as your voltage goes down, your amperage goes right down with it. But you don't really lose too much heating value. If you know, if this thing's spec'd out at 240 and you run it on 220, it's a very minimal loss in heat, but your amperage goes down 1 or 2 points. So about 29.5 on the on this one. Let's check the older one. You know, this one should be this is the 120 volt hot shot, and you should be sitting at 7.5, 8, something like that. Doing that from memory. Yep, 7.6 is your resistance on that one. So two very, very different coils have to go in these things. You know, it's not linear as far as the ohms go, as far as the resistance goes on the coil. It's not linear. Okay, so we're looking at the back of the control panel of the 120 volt oven. This uses a Novus SSR, and they use very large SSRs. This one is good for, I think, 40 amps. So yeah, this is a 40 amp relay. So it's way beyond what you need, and the advantages of using an oversized SSR are pretty evident in the lifespan. I've literally never had to warranty an SSR because I always oversized them, and we're only pumping 20 amps through it, through a 40 amp SSR, so they never really get hot. But they are bolted up to an aluminum plate, nice thick aluminum plate, and they're using heat sink transfer tape at the back side of the SSR, so the aluminum will soak up the heat. Anyways, this is just a single pole SSR, standard on the 120 volt models. I'm going to try to pan you again on my squeaky little tripod. And now you'll notice this one, now we're switching two legs. You know, we've got 240 volt and both legs are hot. We don't have a neutral to work with over in, you know, on the export models. But so we got two poles. So you see the two here is one pole, two here is another pole. And then the switch gear, we can switch them independently or switch them together, and they've got them wired so they just, both poles fire at the same time. This is a Carlo Gavassi unit, actually made in Malta, so I guess that's technically Italy. But these are good little SSRs, and these are the ones I was using on the 240 volt models, on the 1200s, and on the duplexes. Because you can fire them individually. On a duplex, I ran one SSR, and I could fire the individual poles as required for the top or the bottom oven. So out of one SSR, I'm performing double duty. So that's the difference in the SSRs between the 120 and the 240. All right, let's get inside the control face and see what's going on in there. There's some differences in there too. Okay, I got the wiring loom held out of the way, but you can see down there in the bottom, instead of just one circuit breaker, now we run two. And not only are they, there's more of them, they're a smaller value. They're actually a 10 amp breaker.
On the Hotshot 360 120 volt, they are 20 amp, because we're only switching one leg, and then the neutral doesn't need one. This one we got 2 hots, so we run 2 circuit breakers. So that's another modification that gets done to the high voltage units. The other thing that gets added is a 240, well, it's a 250 volt rated switch, but it's a 2-pole switch. So when we pull away the control power, we're pulling away both legs from the controller and the rest of the system. So we do switch both legs with a different switch. On the 120 volt, it's only a single pole. And last but not least is the actual alarm. That's a 240 volt alarm, and it'll run all the way down to 200 volts. So anywhere in between, it's going to be perfectly happy anywhere in that voltage range. So your alarm is rated for line voltage. And we did all this to this oven with no transformers or external power supplies. Alright, everything is a purpose-built component that goes into the oven that makes it 240 volt.
So there you have it, guys, the Hotshot 360 for export. It'll run anywhere between 240 and 220 volts, and it'll run on 50 or 60 hertz. And it's been tested that way. I did it myself with my older Hotshots. All the same components are going into this that I put into mine. I did a lot of research, and when American Rotary took over, I just handed them all that information, and they're buying all the same stuff. They're not cutting any corners. All right, appreciate you watching, and if you are out of the States and you're interested in an oven, recommend you find a forwarding company, but send me an email and we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to get you an oven as economically as we can. It's a shipping that's the killer. It quite often exceeds the cost of the oven. This one magically got an argon kit in it. If you do have one for export, and you see a lot of guys ask me to put the bushing in the oven before it goes out because they have a hard time finding 1/8 inch pipe thread taps. So it's no big deal if you request it. I'll stick it in there for you. Just say, hey, I want to put an argon kit in it, and it'll come with the bushing already in. Everything else is just some wrenches and screwdrivers, real simple to put in. But I appreciate you guys watching, and I do want to remind you, I have closed my eBay store. I don't know whether you guys have noticed or not, but Anchor Lube is no longer available from Bar Z on the eBay store. All this stuff with their new bank and tying their money in, and they're trying to keep all the money for themselves. The fees were getting outrageous over on eBay, so I closed the store. Over on my website, barzindustrial.com, you can always get Anchor Lube in any size, and it's actually a better price than eBay, mainly because of the eBay fees. All right, but still free shipping in the U.S. If you are a international customer, please don't check out at barzindustrial.com with Anchor Lube. I can't ship it for what it's worth. All right, but U.S. customers, be happy to get you your Anchor Lube, all you can eat. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.